And welcome to another episode of Nights at the Round Table.
What just happened?
I don't know why I got so excited.
No.
What is up, y'all? I got
Oh.
Bobise to the right.
I don't know what to make of that.
It was
Okay.
good. And
Loved
then we
it.
got Be Real to the left.
Gang, gang.
We are here in the streets of Los Angeles, feeling good. I had a nice little day. I didn't do much. Wasn't too fulfilling.
Oh,
Slept bad. Fell asleep again on the couch. I have this ritual
okay.
that if I wake up like at 3 a.m, I get up because I can't go back to sleep once
Oh,
I'm
you
up.
go to the bathroom.
No,
Oh.
I do go to the bathroom and pee.
Yeah.
But I get cereal.
Yeah, so far so good.
And then I go to the couch, I eat the cereal, I put a movie on in the background, and I usually always fall asleep. But I have to eat the cereal.
Well, that is a sleep training technique. Thanks to Katie, the sleep trainer, that your body has triggers, whether it's like the white noise or the scent of lavender or a certain temperature that tells
Really?
your body it's time to sleep. So your body has learnt. Oh my gosh, fun fact, you guys! Look at Elise adding value. That when you eat cereal, it may be as well that in the daytime, if you do eat cereal, like you either get like a calming or like it literally would like help your body, especially if
It's
you've done
the
it enough.
only time because I don't have it in my diet.
That's interesting.
And I'll fall right back asleep. So that's what I did. I didn't have
Like a
cereal this
little
time, so I
baby.
did like yogurt with granola, and I tricked myself.
Oh,
And
This is cereal.
I fell back asleep. And then I did a good workout and,
Wow.
went to Home Depot.
You've had a
I can't fall asleep watching stuff because I feel like I'm gonna miss out. It's
Neither.
a 3 in me. I was like, I'm gonna stay up.
That's
and I'm
me,
gonna finish
dude.
this.
It
through
has
the
to
plot.
be. It has to be something that you've seen before.
No, it
That-
doesn't matter. I tried
Doesn't
that.
matter. No.
Really?
Yeah, I got to turn it off or I
Yeah.
won't be able to go to sleep.
Same with songs. I want to sing them. So I'll people are like, I just like put soft music on. No, I have to have rain sounds,
Yeah.
the fan.
That's what we sleep to. Rain sounds.
Yeah, because I can't
There's
I can't copy them. I can't just be like,
There's a really nice rain playlist on Spotify.
There
Oh.
is.
Beautiful.
It's like 8 hours.
Because
Really?
I use it for my dog too when he
it's
starts
tagged
feeling
below.
overwhelmed.
So everybody just click that. We get an affiliate. Thank
Oh
you.
my gosh. Oh, speaking of which, if you are watching us on the YouTubers, please do a favor and go right down here, right down
And
here.
if you're not, just jump over to YouTube and do it. Why
And
not?
click, because you can see my crazy hair, Bobise's beautiful face, and B's muscles. Let's go. Today,
get swole.
we're talking about what you have done differently in high school if you had the chance, which really the subcontext is if you weren't so afraid of everything, what would you have done? But before that,
Everything.
we're going to give props to Wordiful like we always do, guys.
Yeah.
'Cause
Shout out to Wordiful. No room for
out.
small talk. You know what I'm saying? We trying to out here ask questions, make connections.
learn.
Holler at me.
My
So,
goodness.
this is a juicy question for today, and it is this. What was the last thing that made you cry?
The last thing that made me cry. You go, because I know you already know.
Is yours a Hallmark movie?
I know, too.
No, I haven't seen. I missed Christmas in July.
Oh, I'm so
But
sorry.
I know. I was gone
It was a
traveling.
good one too. I did not know how it was going to end. It's wild. And then it turns out the couple get together and
Oh,
Oh,
stop.
no.
they save
And
the small town.
Yeah, one of them moves from the big town to the small town.
And then she quit her law firm. She actually just quit it and left one day. And she was like, "You can't fire me. I quit."
I wrote a movie that went with something like that.
I believe it. I
Yeah.
believe it. The last thing that made me cry, it was yesterday. Was it yesterday? Yes, it was
Oh, this
yesterday.
is fresh cries. Oh.
You know, if you haven't cried, did you really live? You know what I
Yeah.
mean? That's what I
Yeah,
ask myself at the end of every day. I don't. That would be so sad. I was crying with my boyfriend. If you're doing the drinking game, you can take a shot. We were on FaceTime and I just was having a girl moment. And this is not just for girls, because I'm sure guys have this moment too, but I feel like we're stereotyped for this and I'm just confirming the stereotype. I just felt really emotional.
For no reason.
No, I mean, this week, I just felt like it was like a busy week. You know those weeks when you know you're so tired and the to-do list doesn't care and honestly, social media doesn't care. Like no one cares when you're tired. And when I get like that as a 3, I also, it kind of sometimes can have the tendency to couple with like shame and be like, you shouldn't be tired. Other people are like,
Yeah.
there's a president of America that's saving the world. I'm
Yeah.
like, I don't know. But I just have felt really like just kind of heavy this week a little bit and just tired. And I honestly think it's just been I'm tired. And so he was asking me questions and was like, I wish I was there. I could give you a hug. And then I was just so aware that he is in a different state. And so then I started crying.
Oh.
And then I booked a flight and I'm going there tomorrow. So
Amazing.
yeah, it turns out. So happily ever
Are
after.
you really?
Hallmark movie.
Are you really
Yeah.
going to tomorrow?
Yeah, tomorrow night.
Nice.
Yeah, good times. So it's like another Hallmark movie.
Yeah.
Manuel, what was the last thing that made you cry?
Man, it's tough.
If you can't remember, we could make you cry right now.
I
And then
can't
you would.
remember the last time.
Quick,
I
Brandon, say
cried.
something.
Here, break his arm.
Do you remember the last time you cried?
I do. It was last week. I was at the gym.
Oh.
Dude, it's weird because whenever I am doing any sort of like at the gym, exercise, anything physically, like it feels like it just opens up my heart space.
Mm.
Does.
And so I finished a workout. I'm in the sauna by myself, just trying to release the toxins. And which interesting enough is that they say when you cry, there's actually toxins that are released,
Really?
right? Scientifically.
Same as sweat.
Yeah. And so, but I also think spiritually too. I think it's like good for the soul for you to cry.
Yeah. No, I
You
love
know, right?
crying.
Like Jesus was a man who wept many tears. That's why they liken him. They're like, some call you the prophet Jeremiah, is because he's known as the prophet of tears.
Really?
So that's a connection. That's why they thought Jesus was like Jeremiah in the sense that he was a
Wow.
man who wept. Anyway, so the thing that made me cry was actually like I realized over the last 6-7 months of my life, all the times that I've cried have been because I'm just so damn grateful and happy in my life.
Oh, I love that.
I haven't cried sad tears in a minute, which I'm so thankful
Mine, for the record, weren't sad tears. They were just confused tears.
for. They were just
Yeah.
I'm just tired
Am I
tears.
the prophet Jeremiah? I don't know.
Tired tears.
The prophet of tears.
And I'm in the sauna and I have this like sound bath thing from Headspace.
I love it.
And it's on and it was like 15 minutes because that sauna is hot as hell.
Yeah.
So I'm like, I'll be here in 15 minutes. I'm gonna have a sound bath. I'm gonna connect with God right here. So I got
Release
my
the
towel. I'm
toxin.
sitting and I just start feeling it. Like I just start
Aw.
feeling the presence of God, like in the same way, like
Yeah.
you're at a worship service and all of a sudden you start getting the shivers, the shiveries.
Little goosebumps. Holy
and
Spirit.
and I was thinking about my leg, and I was like, man, I'm running. Like I remember
Yeah.
last year at this time, like man, I was like I couldn't even bend my knee, and then I was like thinking about Maddie. I was thinking about my dog. I was thinking about like my raise at work. I was thinking about new opportunities for Maddie. I'm thinking about Hawaii here
Wow.
in like a month or two, and was like, man, this is so great. I'm gonna go home and watch Star Wars with Maddie tonight. Like, just I'm living the dream.
Yeah.
Oh, I love
And then I just was
that.
overwhelmed with just the goodness of God, and I just started crying. And it's one of those things where I'm like, I'm crying, and I feel these tears so much, I don't care who sees me, because at any moment there's gonna be some random dude that walks in, and's like, yo, what the fuck is wrong with this dude crying in the sauna by himself? Like, what kind of hand has life dealt you? But anyways, I was in there, and I was just so overcome with just the goodness and. Man,
I
just
I
all
think
of
that reminds me of when would have been my last time I cried, because I think the last time I cried was probably when I was thinking about Ange's journey and how we get so happy for the friends that we have that are winning, but then I get really angry, and this is probably the one thing where I get angry with God about, because I really be believing like, man, she deserves like a chance,
Yeah.
you know? And
Yeah.
and I don't like it when people don't give her a chance. So I get really angry and then I start crying. And I think that was the last time I cried, because I was just so angry that I was
Yeah.
like, damn it, why
Yeah.
why not, God? Like, why aren't people giving her a chance? And it's really I'm usually like, I'm happy for everyone, but sometimes it gets it's hard to be happy
Totally.
when you think your wife should be there. Now, she doesn't give me these vibes. She but
Yeah, but you like it. That makes sense.
I just want her to win so bad. I definitely want her to win more than I want me to win, because I just think I will be happier if she wins than I would if I
want
win.
everyone to win.
Yeah, I think
But-
that's beautiful, man. That's the heart
I
of
like-
any
yeah.
any lover. All right, want to do another question?
Yeah.
All right.
Do it.
What do you hope to experience before you die?
What I just said.
I know mine.
All right, you know it.
It's like
Say
a
it.
little one.
Say it. Go for it. Do it.
That's like the first one that popped in my mind.
Ah, that's
Do
good.
that.
Maybe because I was just talking about why I was crying. But I think that one small thing about when I was married, for those that this is the first episode, welcome. I'm not usually here. When I was married, I feel like God protected me. And when you were talking about crying because of gratitude, that was what triggered. The last time I cried because I was grateful was this moment I had with God where he reminded me I was kind of having a bit of a, God, like, when's it my turn to be like married, like for the real time, you know?
Yeah.
And he reminded me that like, this small like reminder of like, Elise, you never woke up on your birthday and on Christmas Day as a married woman. Because on my birthday, July 24, was the first time my ex-husband had left me and was not in our house when I woke up on my birthday. So sad, right? And then by Christmas, I was divorced. And it was this small thing of like, even in those times, I didn't feel like God was protecting me, or I didn't understand why God wasn't saving my marriage or whatever it was. It's those little things when you look back that he actually was protecting me, because when I get married for the real time, like those two things I've never woken up on my birthday or Christmas Day with my husband. And so I don't know why that was triggered just then, but that's what I'm excited to wake up. I'm excited to wake up one day next to my husband on my birthday and on Christmas Day. Yeah. Before I die.
Mine is what it was that I above all, I just want to see Ange like get the dream.
What would the dream be?
She wants to act, man.
But like, would it be Hallmark for you? I want Ange to be
anything. I would just love. We always call it like a season of yes, where it's like
I like that.
Like you're. It's consistent. It's going. Like it's happening.
Like
Like this
momentum.
is it. Yeah.
Momentum of yes. Yeah. Where it's just
Yeah.
like thing after thing.
Yeah. Like I just want to see that, because I'm not fooled into thinking that it's all of a sudden gonna make us happy. I don't think that. I think it's gonna bring a lot of stress. She does not handle multitasking well, so I think it's
I love you,
gonna
Ange.
fully put her in a real perspective of like, does she really want this? It's because it's gonna be a lot. But I think it's just the idea of watching her day in and day out work so hard towards something. All the auditions that we go through together, like all the lines that I help her learn, all the, like, I just don't want it to be for nothing.
Wow.
And that really scares me.
Wow.
So yeah, if she can just catch that wave, then we can look back and be like, even if she doesn't like it, even if she catches it and she's like, oh, this is for the birds, I hate this life. And then we're back to stand up. At least she like got to experience it, because it's the whole reason we're here in LA. It's the whole reason.
Yeah.
So that's what I hope.
I love that.
I've already told her that I feel like anything else that I get in my life right now is literally just like cherries on top. Because the expectation of my life was that I was going to be broke all my life. I wasn't going to have anything. I didn't really imagine kids or marriage. I just didn't have like as much of a dreamer I am, and as much as how hard I worked, I just didn't have. I just had a life of eking by.
Yeah.
I mean, I hate to say that,
Eking by.
but it was just like, that's what I had. So at this point, I'm kind of like, sure, you can always want more, but usually, and it's funny because I wrote this, I'm trying to get more into writing raps when I start feeling things so that I can put them on TikTok, because I feel like I always have something to say, but I never do it. And all my sing songs are not like deep. They're like go, go, rah, rah. So I was like driving in my car, and I'm like loving my car. And I said, I feel conflicted because we got more than we need. And honestly, that goes against what we believe.
Oof.
Like,
Interesting. That's like the song I just made you listen to.
every single thing I'm working for right now in my life
Mhm.
is not a need. 1000% it's a want.
Mm-hmm.
Because if I just sat back and thought about what I needed, I have everything I need. So there's a massive conflict of like, oh my God, fuck. Am I like living for excess right now? Like at this point, is it just, I got more cars than I have space for. You know what I'm saying? Like we have a functioning house that's great, and by the time it's done, it's going to be beautiful, but it's not our final. Ange would love to be back in the hills, and I'm not
But
demonizing that.
But isn't that life? It's the.
But that's life. But that's the conflict, because what we believe is that
It's the
look out for the poor. And I do, but I'm like, I don't know if I look out for the poor more than I look out for me.
Right.
And that's fucking tough to swallow.
And we've subscribed to the teachings of a man who lived thousands of years ago who had no place to lay his head.
Literally.
He literally lived on the donations of rich women around him.
Yep. And I'm like, oh, God,
yeah,
man.
it's such a weird thing because it's like, I was just talking to Maddie about this the other day. Like, you know, as much as we're looking forward to purchasing a home here soonish, it's like, it's not going to make me happier than what I am right now.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I realize, like, what I hope to do is to do more of what I'm already doing, just on a bigger scale.
Mm.
Like, as far as impact and difference I'm making in people's lives. But to me, it's also the times that we get together and we're having people over and we're sharing in meals and drinks and having just these conversations of, like, trying to figure out this thing we call the divine. Like, I want more of that just for the rest of my life.
It's the only thing really that I remember.
Yeah.
I don't want to say fantasize, but like our trip to New York, I still romanticize it.
I don't think it's romanticized. That's the best trip ever.
I feel it, you know, but it's only because, yes, the backdrop of the city is beautiful, but
No, it was more
we
than
were
that.
so, you know, we stayed in the same place. We got to wake up to each other. We got to go to sleep. We got to experience New York. It was just so dope. And I'm like, stuff like that, you know, our RV trip like, it's just stuff that's like, that stuff holds me for the whole year and all the material stuff now, granted, I love taking drives, but it really is because I think I connect to God through the drives. Like, I really
worship
do.
time in a sense.
Yeah. Like, cause it really does put me in a better headspace. But anything else I don't really feel like it brings me that kind of joy or anything.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I think it's the tension.
It is.
It is and if you broke it down, it's like everybody has more than they need.
Yeah.
But we still are fighting so hard for what we want. But then it's like, what is it that you want?
Dang.
You want a level of excess that's like, I don't know.
Mm-hmm.
And that doesn't feel sweet. So anyways, but
shout out to capitalism.
yeah.
Because if you're not producing or consuming, what are you?
Yeah, it really is that, right?
Dang.
Oh, man.
But let's get into this episode.
I think we're in it.
We are in it. We're into look. So the idea, shout out to Crystal from Patreon because she's the one that gave us like 5
Crystal,
different
my man.
episode ideas. So Crystal, I know you're listening. Thank you for your ideas because you'll
Crystal.
recognize most of these episodes because I think the last 3 were your ideas. So this one was, she asked the question of if you could go back to high school, what would you change? And I was watching Elijah practice yesterday at this high school, and I was reminiscing about high school and how dope it was. And I loved it. And I think about high school, and I think, you know, it's kind of like this is not a shallow topic, but I think that what we talked about right even before pushing record was everybody kind of said, I wouldn't be so scared. So I think what it's really turning into this episode is more so, what would we change in high school? Because everybody was really scared. Now, mine, if I had to change something in high school, I wasn't really scared. That's my thing. I don't think I was scared I was a damn criminal. So I sure as hell wasn't scared of the law.
Thug baby.
I didn't care about anything. I didn't care about print. I loved my high school thing. And I think what I would have wished I would have done more, or what I would have changed, maybe, I think if I would have took God more serious sooner. Because I was going to church from 9th grade.
Right.
But I was fronting from 9th to 11th. I was just showing up and then leaving and robbing people, doing my thing. Like, I just went for girls. But I guess I wonder if anything would have changed if I would have started sooner. Does that make sense?
Yeah, for
It's
sure.
like what they always say about investing. Like, I wish I would have started investing sooner.
Yeah,
And I really do
same.
wish I would have invested sooner. But like, I wonder if I would have invested in God sooner. Like, would I have found myself sooner? Would I have hit the ground running in high school instead of in college?
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? I don't know if it would have changed any. I don't know. But that's probably if I had to look at like what I would change. Because honestly, and I don't mean it's not like a boastful thing to say I wasn't scared of anything. I think I don't know. You guys know me. I have never really been one to be scared of.
I can't imagine teenage Manny. I just
Anything.
don't imagine you being scared. But I find it hard to imagine no high schooler being scared, like, or a high schooler not being scared. So it's like knowing you. I mean, like, yeah, that's believable. But also, like, everyone's scared at some point or of something in high school. We just don't.
Yeah. Or fear is masqueraded as something else.
Yeah, like you're stealing, like you said, like you just
Okay,
like
well and I don't know if this is a real fear, but
being a criminal.
I think I was scared of getting found out.
Well, that's because you were stealing, wasn't it?
I wasn't. Yeah, that too. But
That
no,
one's
no,
a
no.
healthy fear.
I
fam.
mean, found out like
in
that
the
I
church?
was really a softie.
Oh,
There we go.
Found it.
So it was
Because I got to this point where I was such involved in criminal activities
Yeah.
that I was like, literally, my homeboy got arrested for beating up cops. And then my other homeboy is knocking people out in the middle of the daylight at school for fun.
And you're watching Hallmark movies.
And I'm here like, yeah, and I'm
At night.
deep down, I'm like,
Tension.
Serial.
Speaking of tensions,
I'm feeling bad for the cops. I'm feeling bad for this little kid who just got
he's
knocked
going to
out.
return the things they stole that night. Like he's breaking back in.
It's so bad that I'm like, oh my God, I'm going to be found out. And maybe that's a thing of just like living a double life. Because as much as I wanted to be hard and
Why
and a
were
little
you being like
gangster,
that then?
It was necessary.
Yeah, it was
Survival.
Survival
Right.
tactics.
It's just survival. Because if I wasn't that, I mean, back in Orlando, like, there was like a lot of race war going on. Like we had
Right.
there was like the white guys and there was
Wow.
all of us Latin and blacks. And every day we would walk home, we had to be afraid of like getting jumped by these white dudes, like these hillbillies. So we kind of ganged up,
Wow.
clicked up.
You had to. And then when you do that, then that's protection. Like
It's like,
that.
yeah, then you just live that life. It's like there's an addiction or there's like a feeling of numbers. Like I remember one time these white
safety.
boys came to fight my homeboy Alberic, and this was like a scene out of a movie. They came onto middle school grounds and they approached him at his locker, and it was if we had it choreographed because they started talking crap and Alberic starts looking around, and I start gathering the troops, and before you know it, there's like 20 of us little Puerto Ricans surrounding these 3 high school dudes, these white boys. And Alberic starts talking tough like a movie. And he's like, I think you're going to have more of a problem than what you thought. And they look around, they see all of us, and they bounce. And we were all like, yeah, feeling whatever. Then me and Alberic, we have to walk home together. And walking home is the scariest part because we used to hide like weapons on our way home because we're like, all right, if they jump us here, we run to this tree. If they jump us here, we run to this, and we had weapons hidden. So we were coming home, and they caught us. They were waiting for us in this neighborhood, and they caught us slipping. And the only thing that saved me that day was that one of them knew my brother because they played football together.
Really?
And they go, wait a minute, you Reyes' little brother? I was like, yeah. And he was like, oh man, we can't mess with these fools. And they
my
left.
Goodness.
It was only because of that, because there was like 7 of them. They came back in
Whoa.
numbers, and it was me and Alberic. And mind you, me and Alberic combined, we probably weighed 200 pounds. Combined. We were the skinniest. Like, they would never be scared of just one of us. So anyways, I think that would have been, my fear would be people finding out that I was living a double life.
And really, because it was a fear of like then getting hurt or like being
Of just,
'Cause the reason
I
you
think
were
at that
doing it-
point, I think at that point, yeah, like I was more comfortable with the persona than I was with me.
Yeah.
that makes sense. That's
And
high school.
It shifted.
That's
it,
high school.
It shifted when I got saved.
Yeah.
Wow.
Then I had
Because
this.
because it comes down to me, like thinking of it, looking at it, is like it comes down to identity, right? So like the belief is that
Yeah.
in faith, you get access now to the truest part of who you are. The part before the persona, the part before the labels, the part before the mistakes, all those things, right? It's the true self, the self that's always rooted, has been always loved, and is secure in that place.
Yeah.
And so, like, when you're that young, dude, it's like I tell my high school kids all the time, I'm like, PFC. prefrontal cortex. I'm like, this is why you make stupid decisions. Your brain isn't even developed.
Mm-hmm.
You have how the hell can you know who you are? Your brain isn't even fully
I
developed.
wish someone said that to me when I was a kid. Man.
I was like, oh, here we go, PFC moment. Don't be talking to her, So, anyways,
I hated it, but that was me.
I love that, man.
What would yours be?
Growing up in the very conservative Christian household with parents who were, somewhat recognizable or noticeable in the ministry space, I felt such a pressure to have my shit together. And especially being a 3, too, there's this achiever part of me that really wants to make people around me feel, 1, happy and proud of me in the way that I'm choosing to live my life. But then 2, there's another aspect to that, not only happy and proud, but also comfortable. So being a person of color in mostly white Christian spaces, there was also another added layer of like, be the good black guy. Like, don't be that kind of black guy.
Yeah.
And we know what that kind of black guy is because in your mind right now, there's probably some sort of image.
Yeah.
Right? That people associate with like, oh, he's kind of a scary black man, yada, yada, yada. And you're light skinned, so you're a little more palatable. You seem like you're pretty articulate, which was always a compliment I got, which also was a backhanded compliment of like, yeah, most black guys can't communicate their feelings, And so there was all these pressures, and then, playing athletics and, even having these prophetic words of like, you're going to play pro basketball someday, and like the pressure to have to live up to that. So there was such the standard of perfection that was this outside pressure that I adopted and really made my own, where I really felt like, Brandon Smith, you have to be perfect. There is no room for error, because what others can get away with, you cannot. And, that looks like in the convictions that I hold myself to in my Christianity, that looks to like, all those sorts of things. And so what I didn't realize was that it's like, you don't get to God by being perfect.
Yeah.
Like, there is no closer step to getting this connection with the Spirit by you making all the right choices.
Yeah.
Like, if anything, it's actually probably more pride in believing that all of your good choices has now put you in a better standing with God.
Earned you a way to be closer to God.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And it's funny because I didn't realize till a little bit later was that the way that you're actually growing, the way that you're actually beginning to even understand this thing called God is you have to fail. Like, you have to be humiliated. You have to be embarrassed.
Right.
You have to be so sure of yourself that you made the right decision. And at the outcome of that decision, it feels like you're in completely the wrong way. Like, this is the only way that I believe now that we can actually understand what grace is.
Yeah.
That we actually can comprehend what the forgiveness of God looks like in our life. Like, it's so much so that like now I read scripture different. Like, to me, the whole thing is baked into the equation. The Adam and Eve creation account, right? Hopefully you don't believe that is an actual historical account of how creation happened. But it is a very beautiful story. It's beautiful. And a lot of other cultures and religions have very similar creation stories. Regardless, it was like God knew at the beginning, right, in the story that was being told, that these two characters were going to fail. And literally, immediately after they fail, his grace comes in. And it says that his first act of grace was that he covers them. That's beautiful.
Yeah.
Like, that's always the first thing. And I think in our mind, and the way a lot of people grew up in Christian spaces, is that there's this immediate, like, if I fail, like, oh, and I'm like turning away from God. If anything, it's like we fall and he covers us in that place of weakness, in that place of us kind of like being shitty.
Yeah.
And so in high school, man, I was so afraid to make mistakes that I didn't even like really let myself live. Like, I was so scared. Like, I was like, oh, like, and it wasn't to say that I was never alone with a girl or whatever, but a lot of times there wasn't, because I was so afraid, like, oh, I'm gonna fuck this up, and if I fuck this up and I fuck her, like, dude, I'm gonna lose out on my calling. Like, this is gonna be so bad.
I hate that.
Oh, everything was about your calling.
Oh
You
my
remember
gosh.
that? 16 years old.
Oh my gosh.
Do you
I was
know
like,
how many
I
ways you can
cannot-
ruin your calling?
I cannot
Good
sacrifice
Lord.
my calling.
I broke up with people the second I fell. Like, if I was dating someone, like,
Yeah.
post when I was
Which is
saved.
great, because now the girls think it's their fault, but that's fine.
I know. It
It's
was
fine.
so stupid. It was very much so like,
I think someone broke up with me because no, I'm kidding.
Dude. I think there were so many things that I would have let myself go and experience that ultimately I wouldn't have lost my calling. But I think ultimately I would come into the understanding that, Brandon, that mistakes are a part of this thing and you have to make them. And Christianity in the end is about how do we lose graciously.
Yeah.
Like, that's really what it's about. It's not about winning. It's not about conquering. That's not what Christianity is about. And unfortunately, that's so immersed into the culture of America and the American ideal that it also comes into this weird place in Christianity that we're like, we feel like we're supposed to win at everything. And it's like, that's not really the calling of Christ.
Yeah.
You know, so many of those things now I'm able to like look back, and I've actually had to do some work where I now forgive younger me.
I have a question.
Yes.
For younger Brandon.
Yes.
I have had my hands up for those watching on YouTube. That was my hand up. I wasn't stretching. Do you regret, like, because I thought the same thing of like, it means I didn't do a lot of things because I was just so afraid.
Yeah.
Do you regret it? Or is there like anything that, like any specific, whether it's like experiences or whatever that you're like, I regret not
I wish I would have
doing that?
I wish, this is so controversial. Part of me low key feels I would have tasted a couple more flavors.
Baskin Robbins.
I wish I would have had more
on
sex.
these hoes. Okay, Manny.
I wish I would have had more sex. Not like hoe sex. Right? Like, because I know I'm not built for
I
that.
don't know how to answer this.
Not like hoe sex. Me and Ange always laugh about this because we have the same, we both think
Ange has the same answer.
Same
Yeah.
way. We're like, man, we should have had more. Like meaningful sex. Like I'm probably so, everybody's like, this nigga ain't safe. But I fully was.
Yeah, well, the ones thinking that probably already thought that before. So
Yeah,
it's fine.
yeah,
Keep going.
yeah. I wish and maybe that's like a dumb wish because maybe I wouldn't have. Like if given the chance, knowing myself, like I think I've screwed up more situationships because of fear, like utter fear, where I push people away because I was so scared of
Right.
God being. Like I remember one time I was with the girl and she was so awesome. We had so much fun. It was so like easy with her. And one time like we got down and we didn't even have sex, but I got so weird about it. That it kind of pushed her away. And then we didn't hang out no more. And one time I did something with this girl. And again, there's no way in hell she would have been able to have been pregnant by what we were doing. And yeah,
You've already told us that the soldiers were marching up.
that was a different one.
No, okay.
This was even better because
Damn
this one there was
soldiers.
actual stuff happening. But but I got so scared that I like, and this is embarrassing to admit, but
Told
I
her
like
take a plan B?
bothered her. That was a different one. This is 3 different situations.
You've had
This is how
okay.
much
Sheesh.
fear.
Yeah, it's
You
flavors.
tasted the rainbow.
Mind you, they're like not that those other 2 were not even real sex. And I bothered this girl so much that we stopped being friends for like a year.
What do you mean you bothered her?
I was so scared that she was pregnant. And we didn't have sex. Imagine you being a girl.
So you ghosted your
And
baby mama.
I literally,
God.
imagine we had a heavy session and we didn't have sex and I kept bothering you.
Session.
And I kept bothering you if you were pregnant and we didn't have sex.
Did she have to give you a lesson in the
I'm
actual
so
birds and the
mad at
actual
myself.
She
beings?
sent you a little sex ed video.
Yeah.
She just stopped talking to me. But that's,
Man.
I
She
do
brought in a
low-key-
diagram.
That's where I wish I would have lived more because I was already.
Dang.
There's this song in Kendrick Lamar's new Masterpiece album, and he has this one line, and he says, "Dog, if I didn't learn how to love myself, forgive myself 100 times." And I was thinking about that, and I was thinking about just the work that I've done in my life, and probably up until this year, man, I've really beat like younger me up
Yeah.
because I've felt so ashamed. I've felt just so like, man, why didn't you live more? Like, why didn't you like experience more things and all these sorts of things? And it was funny because like I had to go back to a younger me and I had to feel what I was feeling at that time. Yes, there was a lot of fear of making mistakes, but in the same time, in the purest place of my heart, I really thought that I was doing the best
Totally.
that I could. And at the end of the day,
That's
like,
the yeah.
you cannot ask more from somebody who genuinely feels like, although that place in their heart might be misled in what that actually manifests to in actions wise, you cannot feel bad for a kid who is heavily influenced by their surroundings at that time.
Yeah.
And their limited scope of worldview and their limited scope of who they actually are, giving their best in their purest heart, trying to give God like everything
What
that
they thought
have.
he wanted. Yeah.
Like, and so it's like, as much as I've hung my head, I'm like, well, dude, at that time in my life, that was the best I knew how to give. And at the end of the day,
Wow.
that road, as frustrating as it could have been and as toxic at times as it was, it has led me here to a place where I now have peace and I now have connection and I have love. And like, it wasn't until this year where I can actually like look back and not feel bad in the sense like beating younger me up. Cause there was such this like, it just inner wrestle for the last 5 years during deconstruction where I'm like, man, I fucked it up so bad. Oh, I was such a shitty friend because of my beliefs. Oh, I excluded people with my oppressive theology. But at the same time, at that time of my life, that was the best that I could give. And I can't feel bad for that.
Wow. It's so like we relate on a lot of different ways about how we grew up and stuff like that. Even though we're on the other side of the world and different, but like, I totally get that. And I think that like, when I look back on that too, I feel the same thing. And that like, I felt like God showed me that verse when it's talking about the story of King David in the Old Testament in 1 or 2 Samuel. And the prophet was like looking at David and he was like, the man looks at the outer appearance, but God looks at the heart.
Yeah.
And it's so funny because I'd always judge myself because of that. This freaking chick. I was always like, yeah, man, God knows my heart is dirty and just bad and just the worst. And then one day God just flipped it on me and I suddenly saw it, I think how it was intended of like, even the way we look at ourselves, our younger selves, and we look at what they did and how we messed up or how afraid we were or the way we treated people, or for me, the way I like idolized church and like the fact that anyone that left was like the freaking mafia. I was like, you left us, you left our family. Like, I'm never talking to you again.
Blacklisted.
Like, just such an idiot. And I judge and beat myself up. And I think God's to say, he's like, hey, like you were a product of your environment and I saw your heart.
Yeah.
Like and did we get it wrong? Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
But like, I saw your heart and your motivation. And in the same way, like it's so easy to judge the people around us and ourselves. But I think I'd always seen that verse as like, God looks at the heart, so you're the worst. And it was actually God looked at the heart, and you may have messed it up a little bit in the methodology of it, but the motivation was there.
Yeah.
And
I think
that's-
everybody has that zealous
Yeah.
intro.
You have to.
Yeah,
Because
no
you
matter how
just
old you
got
are.
And actually, I
saved.
take
Yeah.
that back. You don't have to, but it's a very normal occurrence.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You just got saved. You're happy. You're hype. You're like, yeah, it's going, so well. I know the creator of the earth. I have a calling,
Listen,
all
I know
these-
right and wrong. I know truth and lies.
My dad's the creator of heaven and earth.
My papa.
You really do be feeling
Daddy God.
You be feeling like you
Daddy.
on one. So it's like, man, it's difficult not to have all those
Right.
zealous emotions. So I definitely, I remember I was so zealous for God. Like I pushed my sister away for like a whole year. She didn't talk to me
Yeah.
because I was such a super Christian.
So much of mine was like that. What I just said of like anyone that left our church. Oh gosh, it's embarrassing to think about. Like,
Yeah.
it's like some of those moments where you just
Dude,
like hang your
it's-
head and you're like,
it's
oh,
so bad. There's-
16, 17-year-old Elise, you jerk.
I'm like, oh my God, some of the
who the
stuff
hell
that I
did you
was
think
preaching.
you were? Like,
Oof.
so I looked at some old sermons the
So I
other
was
day,
like,
dude.
oh man, this is like, and again, if it were to come out and stuff, I can't be ashamed of it. Like, dude, I said what I said. And at the time I thought that was right. And I've changed. And that's a beautiful thing of like, that should be life.
Yeah.
Like that should be like, there
Yeah.
should be some sort of sense of when you look back on younger you, there should be things that you're like, oh,
I no longer believe
gross,
that. Or
cringy.
like, yeah.
Like, cause that shows like the journey, like that shows the progress and
Right.
the growth. And if like everything that you did is still what you stand by, like you're probably not listening to this podcast. One.
Yeah. Sorry if you listened to it because I
But-
posted it. My bad.
Yeah, but two, go live some life.
Yeah, growth is change. Change is growth. I think the way to know we've grown is whether you double down on the things or you can admit, I no longer believe that or prescribe to that or whatever. I think that is the biggest way I felt like I'd matured, was the day that I wasn't like, oh crap, I said that. Well, I got to just prove it with another Bible verse, because I guess if I said it, I can't be wrong, because I've got to make sure I don't embarrass God. Like the day that I started to be like, I don't know that I believe that anymore. Just that answer period, and didn't feel like I had to have more of an answer. I think that's the day I started getting more confused and more comfortable at the same time. Like, I think that's, I think for me in high school, I'm a 3 as well. Oh, gosh, I asked PKs, goodness gracious.
Fun
But
times.
in Australia, I think it was for sure, if I could change one thing about high school or do something differently, I think I would have just had more fun with me earlier. Like, I really like me, and sure, sometimes does that border on, like, well, I don't know, loving myself too much? Who knows? It's hard to say. But
I don't think you could.
the Lord did say, love others as you love yourself. So, just really trying to perfect that one. But I think growing up, I was so preoccupied, specifically with girls in high school, trying to fit in and girl world. Like, I remember watching Mean Girls for the first time and crying and being like, she's from Africa, I'm from the church, but I get her. Me and Lindsay Lohan.
I am African.
Am I from Africa? No, you're Australian. Sit down. Like, what? That's me. There's like, it just was so my life in, like, it felt like my own parable. Like, I was watching my own parable of like, the world I was from. And then I tried to figure out how to fit in. And the year before high school for me, I was getting bullied. And this was back when like MSN Messenger was a thing. You guys remember that? Like right after AOL, those chat rooms. Then there was like the Messenger thing and Hotmail. And a girl in our group was grounded from her email for the weekend. So she asked her friend to check it. And the password was I love Matt. I still remember it. And I found it, and I went into her email, because I was so mad at how like this girl would bully everyone, including me. And so I sent emails from her address to the girls in our group, including myself. I think like subconsciously wanting to like confirm my spot in the group. And like just like such an absolute psychopath. But like to me, I was doing it for the greater good. Like I was trying to like spin verses to be like, I'm all things to all men, that I might win some. Like what? And long story short, the police ended up getting involved because they said they were death threats. They were not death threats. I was like, don't tell anyone or I'll kill you. Like it's not a big deal. Everyone found out. I was so embarrassed. I was like just like by myself at lunchtime. But our middle school and high school were connected where I lived. And so the next year, the people didn't change. Like I had to go to high school with these same girls that just made my life like a living hell. And rather than, I wish I had been like, you know what? It was a mistake. We all make mistakes. Yeah. My dad made me obviously go to everyone's house and sit down with them and their parents and apologize and ask for forgiveness and pray together at the end. Like just an absolute gem.
That's very pastorful.
Just such a gem, and like live through my mistakes. And I remember because of that, I always held this shame in high school of like, I just need to get by. Okay, if I can just fit in somewhere and I can just eat lunch with someone and have people that like will sit with me in class, then I'll be okay.
Yeah.
Which looking back on that 16, 15, it was like 14 to 18, 17-year-old girl, I felt so sad for her because my goal was just not to be alone.
Yeah.
And it has been like a theme of my life, of this fear of myself, a fear of like, honestly, yeah, like myself. I know that God has created like a certain charisma and like energy and light that I have for our world. And I never embraced it. I was so scared of it because I was so scared of what people would think of it. So instead of having fun with me and loving me and like laughing at my own jokes, like enjoying myself, I would just walk into every room, whether it was a green room in church, because I wouldn't just walk into the auditorium. You know what I mean?
Can't.
No. You just got to go straight to the green room.
If you got the VIP badge,
you know what I mean?
You go to VIP.
Yeah, I want some carrot sticks from the green room.
This ain't no general admission.
Absolutely not. And juice. I don't know. Or whether it was walking into the classroom at school, I was never walking in just to like walk into a room to just be.
Yeah.
I was walking into every room on a mission to be accepted.
Yeah, I'm going to win everybody here.
I have to. And I think that it started, growing up as a 3 church kid, and then that mistake in the 6th grade again, with a good heart, like really, truly just wanting people to be nice, but thinking the way around it was just to be like a bitch to everyone. But I think that I wish if I could do it differently, I would just like find out about me. And therefore, I think I would have had so much more authentic friendships. And don't get me wrong, I ended up having some really cool friends in high school. And those
Do you still
girls,
talk to them?
well, one of the girls from that group that like, her name's Alex, that was a part of that group in middle school. She became a friend of mine, like later on in our 20s or whatever. And she's still friends with like one of my really good friends in Australia. It's just funny how the world is like that. That girl that it was about and her friend, which I won't say her name, but honestly, her first and last name, gosh, I wish I could say it. I'm not going to say it. I'm not going to say it. Elise, don't say it. Okay.
Why? Why are you afraid of saying
Because
it?
I wish I had also had a quicker wit, because if you put her name together and say it faster, it sounds like a female body part, and I would have just had a field day if she had tried to come at me. So I was like, how did I not think of that earlier? I would have been the best bully if I was like brave enough. If I was you, goodness gracious, like I would have been like,
I was gonna
killing the
ask, which I think you kind of already just answered, at least for you. Like, if
yes, I don't know if that made
if
sense.
these things, yeah, like if these things that we're noticing of what we would have changed, like, how far into the future did it affect?
Yeah.
When did it snap?
My divorce.
Damn, so that's really far.
Yeah. Yeah, I didn't get married at 21. I wasn't that Christian. I think I learned to manage it, but like
Would you say it's gone now?
I think that it's almost like, okay, I'm going to use a weird example. Have you ever seen The Beautiful Mind? And I'm going to ruin it, but honestly, if you haven't seen it at this point, like it's on you. Yuri has like schizophrenia.
Spoiler alert.
Like it was from the 90s, wasn't it? 2000s. If you haven't seen it, I can't help. You know those people that are like, you ruined it. What? This came out when we were 12.
If you haven't seen Shawshank Redemption, screw you.
It's a Beautiful Life. Like, stop.
It's your fault.
Yeah, 20 years.
Yeah, they sang In the Rain. How could you ruin that for me? No. I like Russell Crowe in it, he's got schizophrenia, but you don't find out to the very end. And the whole idea of it was, once he realized, he went through like this therapy and healing, and then the last scene, the characters are still there, he just doesn't talk to them. And so I would say I'm on a journey to talk to them less, to talk to those fears less, to focus on them less. I don't know if I can have the balls to say that I don't struggle with them anymore, honestly. Right. I think that was part of me as a 3, as someone who can have the tendency to be vain or have the tendency to care way too much, want to sound impressive. My temptation is to say, yeah, for sure, I've dealt with it. But part of my breakthrough was in being okay wrestling with it and being okay admitting I still care way too much what people think, and I still carry shame of the thought, if people really knew me. I still deal with imposter syndrome. I still do, and I'm doing the best I can, and really good, honest, authentic friendships and relationships help. And getting out of, for me, a bit of a toxic environment of performance in ministry has been great. And I think that like I'm taking the steps, but I would be lying if I said, nah, I'm healed.
Yeah.
You know? Do you?
Oh, I lost that crap back in high school.
Do you still steal stuff?
I lost it back.
Are you still a thug, Manuel?
Because I got saved in my senior year of high school. So once I got saved, like I just thought, like, not only did I think I was awesome before, you know, because I didn't really hide myself. I was a goofball. I was always whatever. The only thing that I did was attach the gangster name to it. But everything else of who I was still was that. I was still the class clown. I made everybody laugh. I still cared for people. But I just attached the gangster thing. Once I got rid of that and brought on the Jesus part, I didn't really change. Like, people still knew me for me. I had this kind of like what we were saying before. Like I'm introduced to the Creator, and now I feel like I have the ultimate like flex. You know, like God is my ultimate flex, and I don't
need the gangs. I've got Jesus.
Yeah, I guess I just like transitioned to that. Like I just kind of threw it all on him, and then like my senior year, I literally went from the most popular kid to like second place overnight.
Who was
I was first place all the time.
And
like
then
prom king, homecoming king, like always.
I wish I had prom.
And
In
then,
my head, I would have gotten prom queen, but as I've just explained, I absolutely wouldn't. But somewhere in my head, I'm like, I still could have gotten it.
yeah, like, I mean, I was a junior, so I couldn't be prom king, but like I was always like homecoming king, and if I would have stayed like
popular kid.
myself, I would have been prom king. But once I switched over to the Jesus movement, like nobody wanted to mess with me. Like I quickly became. They still respected me because of who I was and the name I built, but I had nothing in common with them, so I just kind of like faded off into the sunset. And
I think one of the things that, like, even in your story, I'm realizing, like, you guys have helped me embrace. But yeah, I don't know if you like relate to this, but for me growing up, I always felt like being a Christian had to be the number one. I didn't do sports, not because I couldn't, but also I couldn't. But I probably wouldn't have. I played netball for one season. I think I've told that story before. It was a shame. Tried basketball, fell over my own shoelace. It was a whole thing. But it just wasn't my thing. But even if I could, I wouldn't, because it was on a Sunday, and Sundays we do church. Like, and I don't mean like putting God first. I don't mean honoring like the Sabbath and all that kind of stuff. Like, I mean to a religious, like, idolatry. I have to have everything I do. Everyone has to know that I'm a Christian, and that, like, just, I'm not that they can come to me if they have issues, but just that I'm a Christian, you know?
so you were the person that if somebody came and complimented you, you would be like, it's not me, it's all Jesus.
I don't.
Were you that
in
bad?
my head? If I didn't, I would have just felt bad about it later. Like, part of that, like, shame was just like a constant shame cycle. But it was like, it wasn't until I started to realize I could be multifaceted. Yes, I preach, and I also am a certified yoga teacher, and I can watch true crime documentaries.
Oh no.
And do you know? I don't know. I'm trying to think of like all the different things, but it wasn't until like I watched how you guys embraced that. But did you have the same thing, like growing up? You felt like it had to look one way.
Yeah, like to me, it was like you win, you let everybody know how great and how high, lofty your morals are.
Mm-hmm.
This is what I believe. This belief system over here is wrong. Lies, 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 and I'll disprove it to you with verses. And on top of that, listen, I'm gonna live so righteous and so holy that you sinners are gonna want what I want, even though deep down inside I'm having no fun, living no life.
And feeling shame.
And it was this weird tension. So one of the things that I used to justify me almost like consecrating myself or separating myself from others was that, like, hey, everyone wasn't fans of Jesus either. Like, they hated him.
Jesus lost followers
like,
too.
You like all this sorts of stuff. But at the same time too, it's like, again, yes, there is a paradox that's involved in that. I think that there is some actual fine line, some balance that you walk with, and what that looks like in other people's lives are different. I know now that what my beliefs in Jesus and his kingdom look like do not exclude me from other people.
Right.
If anything, I can relate to anybody, I feel like. If you didn't have any belief in God or whatever, if you believe in Satan, we can find something to relate on.
Mm-hmm.
And that's okay. And again, my goal back then was like, I have to win everybody to the Lord.
Yeah, it would take them from 0 to 100,
God.
like in that
The
one
amount
conversation.
of pressure. It's like, it's as if the Holy Spirit was holding a God gun in the back of my head and was
God
like,
gun.
you better win some souls today, motherfucker.
Oh man, we used
Or
to.
what's this basketball thing even for?
We used to go witnessing downtown.
Oh, man.
Like, it was an actual thing. Like, we would go downtown and we would
Yeah,
go
we did too.
witness to people, quote unquote witness. And I used to think that was like the best way to win people to Jesus. And then now I look at people who do that and I'm like, bruh.
But do you know what's interesting? Like, I was also quite cynical as well, like of spiritual things.
Really?
Yes,
Okay.
I was quite. If they didn't look like what I knew them to look like,
Okay.
let me say that. So we had these things called encounter weekends, and you better believe we had like a.
Was it like crazy stuff?
Yeah, they like cough up. What's those things called? Deliverance sessions.
Yeah.
Well, we had deliverance sessions. Like, we had vomit like buckets and like all this stuff.
Fun.
And what I'm not saying is that deliverance isn't real. Like, it's biblical, but I'm just saying, like, we would, like, that would happen there, and deliverance couldn't happen unless it looked like the way, like, our church was structured. I just was so, like, the way our church did church was more God than God himself, if that makes sense to me.
Yeah.
I wouldn't have said that, but I thought it. So the cynical part came when I saw people being weird, or when I saw people evangelizing, or I was like, that's not the way you do it. I was just so cynical about the way it's meant to be done. I was a freaking Pharisee. And I'm not saying I'm not still a Pharisee, like I am, but now I admit it, at least. Whereas back then it was just, this constant cycle of shame because of this constant cycle of pressure and this perfectionism and this like the weight of the world was literally on my shoulders, and not just the weight of the world, the weight of everyone's eternity.
Oof, that's rough.
And like very little love, all of it law. Like
Same.
No
Same.
love.
Same.
No love. It was about winning the arguments.
Yep, it was.
Oh yeah, you were an argument guy, huh?
Yeah.
I mean, to a degree.
I wasn't. I was just like, if you want
Apologetics.
to argue,
Yeah.
I'm not going to have this conversation. Like, oh gosh, I was
degree,
the
I mean,
worst.
I still
don't know why I had
enjoy it.
any friends.
I still enjoy it. That's why I do those podcasts. But I don't enjoy arguing.
Yeah, but now you have discussions.
Yeah, I enjoy
Talkaments.
winning people into yes. I enjoy winning people over to like
Situationships.
to love.
No, that's different. Sorry.
I just want people to know love. And I definitely know the best way to witness is to love someone first.
Yeah.
Speak later.
Yeah.
I think with Jesus now, it's more like speak when spoken to. Meaning, if my life is as righteous as I think it is, then these people will have no choice but to ask me, like, what's up?
Yeah.
And if it doesn't happen in that way, if my words are the first thing that convince them, then that just means that somebody else who can speak more eloquently will convince them of something else.
Yeah, it's so true. That's actually
But my
very, very true.
actions
It's
will beat any, like if I love someone and I'm good to them, I'm as God would be to them, go and try to tell that person, oh, Manny's this way. And they're going to be like, what? Nah, bro.
Yeah.
We've seen him. We've been around him. There's never been a time where he's been that way. So whatever you're saying isn't true, or it just doesn't. I have no idea who you're talking about.
yeah.
Which is funny because there's like a verse about that, like living in such a way that maybe there's not, honestly. I
No,
don't know
there
if I'm
is,
making up.
because the verse that I'm thinking of is Matthew 5:16. You know,
See,
it says
he
that
knows.
you would let your light shine before people, and this is what it says: that they would see your good works.
Yes.
And right after that, it says, after they see your good works, that they would glorify your Father in heaven. So there's a connection between how you live your life, and you're living your life in such a way that the actions of you in other people's lives leads them to the conclusion that there is a God who is good.
Right.
Like, that's it at the end of the day.
And that it says, let your light shine, not like live perfectly. And I wish I had done that sooner.
Shoot.
Like I was afraid of it.
Shine-
And so
like-
it meant that I didn't it meant that I wasn't really me. I mean, who knows who they are in high school anyway, but like it meant that I really didn't show up. I just was trying to show off in a way that people would be impressed by me, but that wasn't even really me. It meant that I didn't date because I was simultaneously afraid and desperate, like afraid of dating, but desperate to be married. Like, because I'm a church kid, like it just, there was so many things that there was just so much pressure. And I was trying to skip the process to get to the results, which meant that so much of my formative years, I was just like not forming.
But in a very real way, if those things are still around, it's almost as if, you know, the high school you is still
I think so.
still around. And so you get a chance to like freaking
Oh, I like that way of seeing it. I didn't
Do you know
see
what
it
I'm
like that.
saying?
Yeah.
to talk to her, like even now, because if there's still parts of you that are acting out like the high school you, then that means she's very much or he's very much still with you, and you get a chance to dialogue with him, her,
mentor,
and be like,
walk
hey,
with.
Like that mental.
like you're allowed to like grow out of this now, like have the freedom. And I think that's the one thing that I've noticed about my walk is that my freedom scares people. Like they're scared of the fact that I feel that I can be this free and God still love me. Like that's scary. Like how can you not be scared about? And I'm like, look, I was the worst of being scared, but it just didn't produce any like fruit that I thought was godly. I was scared of God. I was so Adam and Eve. Like I would run from him every chance I got. I never ran to him. I was just so scared.
hiding.
And and this is how you know. This is how you know when you're scared of God. When something goes wrong in your life, the first thing you do is God's judging me.
This
or
is
God's
because of this.
taking to me because
Yeah.
I'm
That's
struggling
what
with
Joseph's
this
brothers
sin,
did.
or I'm
He
struggling
was like,
with
this is because we put him in the pit. Now this is why this
Exactly.
is happening to us. Like,
you just automatically think God is waiting for you to screw up so that he can get you for what you did.
crack the whip.
But I think that's why the gospel is so confusing for so many people, because we teach grace and we also teach karma. we don't call it karma. We wouldn't dare.
We
but we
teach
call
grace,
it you
but
reap
we-
what you sow. And so we like, I remember being so terrified, but then also grappling with grace, being like, I'm so confused. Like,
We teach grace, but we act judgment.
Yeah.
We fully will preach the grace of God, and the second
but as soon as you accept
somebody
Jesus,
falls,
if you want to be on the leadership team, now it's
the
karma.
second somebody falls, it's judgment. It's
Yep.
and it's action. It's actionable judgment. It's not like judgment. I'm going to keep my mouth shut because who knows? God will judge them. No, it's I will judge you. We will all judge you, and we will excommunicate your ass so fast.
Publicly cancel you.
We will, and then preach. Come join this religious that has a gracious God.
It's about relationship,
Come
not
find
religion.
freedom, and no one's free.
Yeah.
And
So, like-
obviously, we're uniquely speaking about situations that we've been a part of.
Yeah,
So
we've been a part of it.
We're not trying to say that every single person is like this. We're just trying to say in our own lives, we have encountered more people in this vein
Yeah.
than not in this vein.
Well, and I would say like you attract who you are too. So I would very much say yes, I was a product of my environment. I think
Sure.
my parents did the best they could, and they were doing what like in the church that we're at, and the church also produced amazing things like at the same
Yeah.
time. But
Yeah.
I would say like as I started realize like I have found more and more people connected to whether it's mega churches or small churches or home churches that aren't like that. But I also believe that I started seeking those people out. And as I started becoming a little bit less judgmental and just like comfortable with myself, naturally I started being around more people like that. So I think when I look back, it's easy for me to say, yeah, everyone was like that. But I was also like, I wouldn't even talk to people that weren't. I was like, they're not even going to heaven. They're
that's
for sure
interesting.
going to hell.
That's
Like,
interesting that you say, because I think that's what this podcast does for a lot of people who still find themselves in a not safe space. Meaning, we have the privilege to find refuge in each other and not be an ounce afraid of any skeleton in the closet.
Mhm.
Knowing that this community will not be like, oh, we don't love you anymore.
Mhm.
I think we kind of may, and I don't know about y'all, maybe it's me. Maybe I can say I'll speak for me, but maybe take that for granted a little bit. Because from what I hear, people that message us, they do not have this kind of friendship circle.
Yeah.
They are they're still afraid of somebody finding out their dark secret or their dark passenger, like Dexter would say it. Like there's a fear. They're afraid the church is going to find out, this friend that's super Christian, and they don't have a new circle because they're in the Midwest or they're in this whatever area that they just don't have progressive thinkers. But we take advantage of like the safe space that we actually have to not only talk out these ideas, but walk them out without the fear of somebody's going to be like, oh, damn, Brandon's not saved anymore.
Yeah.
He did this or he
so
did that. Like, that's pretty brilliant.
Yeah.
And then at the same time, trust that the heart of every person in our circle is truly not to see how much they can get away with,
Right.
but how far can they travel and still find God in those new places?
Yeah.
It's a very big difference. While
Yeah.
conservatives will look at it like,
Oh,
do
yeah.
you really want to push that line? Like you're just trying to live as wild as you can and bring Jesus along. Where it's like, no, where I came from, I think there's a bigger Jesus out there in the dark, crazy unknown.
Yeah.
I'm going to go out there.
There's a bigger Jesus beyond the road you're familiar and walking on.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's like, and that's a big thing for me too. It's like, this podcast has been a space to kind of go on this journey with people. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's so rewarding to me to have these conversations and connections with people who've been listening to the podcast. And it's like over the last couple of years, it's like we've actually been walking these different roads together, like hand in hand and having conversations. And, like, yeah, it's to me, it's like it's something I'm so grateful for, seriously, and I don't take it for granted at all. Like, people ask me if I miss traditional ministry, and I'm like, not really. Like, will I still speak? Yeah, but like, this is a place where I get to honestly, from a place of like no walls, being just like unfiltered raw, sharing what's in my heart and this journey that I'm on with God. It can't get better than that.
Yeah.
Like it really.
You
can't.
know what I do when I think about that question when they ask me, do I miss? Because I always have people say, you need to get back together with group one or you need to whatever.
Go back on tour.
Yeah. And I'm always like,
Wow.
is there anything I miss about that? And I think if I were to say something, it would be the ego misses the initial obviousness of my relationship with God. So if you are a pastor, there is already a set of that people just give you.
Yeah.
You know God more than I do.
Yeah.
You know this Bible more than I do. You know, there's just a set of things. Oh, your words hold more weight than the person sitting next to me in the pew. So when I was a performer or whatever, like there was this obvious, oh, here comes the Christian singer here. He loves God and we're going to give him the benefit of the doubt before anything. Whereas now, most of the stuff that I do or say is definitely on the journey and the benefit of doubt isn't there anymore.
Yeah.
It's like the opposite. It's like where it is like innocent until proven, like spiritual till proven. Not now. It's like not spiritual till proven.
Not spiritual. Prove it to me.
But isn't that why the Bible talks about like the one thing we can judge, I guess, is fruit, which takes time.
Yeah.
And so I think that like even my decision that was to step off that like traditional ministry stuff, which was for sure a divine moment by the Creator, because technically I put in my resignation and it still confuses me. I'm like, wait, I did what? Like I quit? But I think it was like a literal God moment, because now looking back on it, like I didn't realize how many strings attached it had to my spirit in like shackling me, not freeing me. And there are still things, like I said, the high school me, I still get to have conversations with her and notice when she's going into green room mode or trying to be impressive to people. Because she's still there for sure and she still needs healing. But the cool part about it is I feel more free to be able to have these conversations, especially at this table, like in this space, because you guys really have been there. Even when I was like, I don't know about this, you guys, like this is really scary and these conversations, this is terrifying. Ministry, you know? But the proof is in time, is when I came back and when Manny was like, hey, would you ever want to have a chat again? And I jumped at it because there are withdrawals from true human connection. Yeah, you can get withdrawals for a season on like fame or like notoriety in the Christian world or whatever, but that's just like an addiction withdrawal. If you ignore it long enough, like those withdrawal symptoms do go away. I think what doesn't go away is withdrawals from the human spirit, is withdrawals from connecting with each other, because that's what we were designed to do. And I think this is proof in time that like this table's always been here.
Yeah.
It's kind of cute.
It's very deep. That's what I'm saying. Like
deep.
taking it, like you just, I think we're spoiled because we are around heavy thinkers and people who are not afraid to think this way, and you don't get judged by it. And that's like,
even if at the end it's like, I don't know if I agree with that, or I'm not ready to say that yet, or whatever. The difference is like, but tell me more about that. The amount of times I've been to Brandon, so what are the scriptures you have to back that up? Because I need them. Can you text him?
I'm intrigued, but I don't know when I'll cross that line in my heart. But yeah, I think me and high school me are at a good place now. I think it took a minute. It took me after college to start giving myself some freedom to make mistakes and fail. And then when my 20s hit, like a little bit mid-20s hit, and now all of a sudden, now I'm like, you know, a lot of the things that I wanted to experience in high school, I've experienced now. But I think it's beautiful because now I have the maturity. I have the resources, and I have the relationships around me that it can be safe.
yeah,
And it's okay.
That's kind of cool.
So
that's kind of cool.
yeah,
Is that
like,
like
you know,
the
like-
thing that we wanted in high school?
Yeah.
The thing we're actually seeking. Like for me, it was the true acceptance, not just of me accepting me, but to find the people that I am embraced by being all the facets of me.
Yeah.
by being you,
Like
to know
now
that
to
exists.
look back on that, like
Yeah.
that's kind of cool. I just realized that.
Yeah.
That's-
So like, you know, even for me, because it's like, you know, I wanted love so bad in high school, and I did love somebody. Granted, it was the kiddie pool of love, but
I like that analogy.
yeah. But now I'm in the deep end, and I'm like, yes, and it's so fulfilling, it's so satisfying. I wanted to drink when I was in high school. I never drank. First drink I had was we had communion at your house, and I'm 26 years old.
Wait, that was the first time you
It's
drank?
the first time I ever drank. Was
it that
communion.
night?
Yeah,
The
it was that night.
I think that this podcast was birthed that night.
Yeah, it
I think
was.
really that was that night.
In spirit.
In spirit, it was birthed. Come on, somebody.
You know, now it's like, now I can have a mature relationship with alcohol. You know what I'm
Right.
saying? Like, you know, so all these sorts of things. It's just like, yeah, God isn't going to let me miss out. And I believe that now. And it's been great.
Yeah.
And then I moved to LA and I got my dating years. So it turns out it's actually not that great, you guys. Turns out you're not missing anything.
But at least you got it, you know, at least you got it. So, I mean, yeah, I think it's beautiful. The high school you, I'd say, I think that's an interesting mental picture if you are listening to this.
Yeah.
Like, I'm sure you can identify the parts of you that are reminiscent of that younger girl, younger guy that was still trying to find themselves. And now life has taught you enough, or at least hopefully has given you enough tools that you know how to do that so that you can have a good conversation with that high school version of you. We'd love to hear about it too. So
Put
hit
it in
us
the
up.
comments.
Yeah, throw it in the
If you
comments.
could do differently one thing about high school. Wow. Someone find a better way to say that question. If you could do one thing differently from high school.
Yeah, what would you change? Your high school experience. What would it be? Let us know. DM us.
I would
comment
still
below.
have Simple Plan as my first concert. I don't regret it.
Oh, me too. Boys to Men, first concert.
Boys Seven was my first concert too.
Word?
Word.
Where though?
Dude,
I
it
saw
was
him at
at,
Universal
I
Studios.
saw him at San Jose State.
That's dope. That was the first time I ever got starstruck. I
Was
didn't
Boys
think I
to
That
Men?
was
would.
my first non-Christian. My first like Christian concert was Plus One.
What's
I
that?
love Plus
Dude,
One.
they were a Christian boy band.
They were like in sync.
I
They
wish
were.
I'd seen Stacey.
I was
Rico.
close. I was close with Nathan, who was in Plus One.
Yeah.
He's cool people.
Dude, he had his own solo projects that were fire. It's so indie.
And
Nice.
his sister sings on the song that you like, on my Panda stuff. I
Yeah.
think. Yeah. She
I
sings
didn't
in
know that
that.
was his sister. So cool.
Aw,
She's amazing.
Small
Yeah.
world.
I love that for you guys.
I know.
I loved a good like Christian singer, girl Christian singer when I was a kid. Stacey Rico, Rachel Lampa.
Rachel's cool. We did
There's
a tour
another one.
together.
What? Something Velasquez? No. what
Jackie.
was it? Jackie.
Yep.
As it was.
And then
My-
obviously
One of
Darlene
my friends
Check.
was obsessed with her. He'd like follow her to all our concerts and stuff. Very
Really?
stalkerish. Yeah, I had a friend who was
Very
like so convinced
stalkerish.
he was
That's
gonna marry her.
concerning.
Yeah, it was
She
very
got
sweet.
married
Right.
to Nick, which was in this band called
Sorry to Brandon's friend.
Salvador.
Yeah. Darn, bro. Yes.
was a really
bro, I
talented band.
loved Salvador. Do you remember the Katinas?
Yeah,
I
those
remember
are-
the Catinas.
Oh, they were our peoples, man.
My parents
Those
used
are
to get me their
homies.
albums for Christmas.
Yeah.
They're sweet. I mean, they're still doing it.
Yeah.
They're
Dude.
still
Christian but edgy.
Their
you know?
Christmas album was great.
they're still doing it.
Wow.
It's
that
crazy.
was memory lane right there.
Mm-hmm.
Oof.
We love you guys. We're gonna get out of here. We pray you find a seat at the table, but if you don't, you are always welcome at ours. Peace.
Cheers.
Cheers.